I really, really, really did not want to have to make a video this afternoon about some more injuries for the New York Football Giants, but here we are again. Just as this earlier, the Giants and us fans were celebrating the fact that we just got back Sterling Shepard, who was just activated off the PUP list to give some more depth to this wide receiver core. What ends up happening? Two more wide receivers go down in practice today due to injury, and one of our potential starters on this team, as well as a guy who we're relying on this season, looks to be still battling an injury, looks to be running about 50% right now in practice, and looks nowhere ready to be doing any type of on-the-field work, and could even be in jeopardy of missing the first game or two of the season. What's going on, everybody? This is MYG Jeffy T 3285, and as you can tell right now, I'm not happy about reporting this, but the New York Giants are dealing with a couple more injuries today that happened today at practice, right before we get into some of the joint practices, and of course the last preseason game this coming Sunday at 1 p.m. Now, some good news, at least. I'm going to give you the good news. There is some good news. The New York Giants did get back a couple of players today at practice. Not just the return of Sterling Shepard off the PUP list, but the New York Giants also did get back some players who have been banged up on the side, like John Feliciano, Joshua Azudu, Matt Breida, Cordero Flott, and Jamil Douglas all returned back to practice today, as they were able to participate in individual drills as well as during team drills for practice today. So that's good signs. Joshua Azudu was splitting first team reps over there with Devery Hamilton at left guard. Cordell Flott was splitting reps at first and second team. John Feliciano was back at center. Jamil Douglas was once again being the backup center, probably splitting with the twos and the threes. So the New York Giants are getting some guys back, and even Sterling Shepard today, he participated in some team and individual drills coming back from his first practice. So that's the good news. Now the bad news. Ellerson Smith, still not anywhere at practice. He's continuing to be out. Obviously, we know what happened with Thibodeau. He's going to be out for at least 3 to 4 weeks. He was not at practice today. Jahide Ward at least was on the side. Darius Slayton was at least on the side, as well as Rodarius Williams. These players and a couple of more were practicing on the side, so at least they were out there running. Even Dane Belton, the rookie who broke his collarbone at the beginning of training camp, he's at least running out there and doing some sprints, so maybe he's closer. But now let's get to the bad news. And once again, the wide receiver core of the New York Giants gets hit with injury. As today, during practice today, New York Giants preseason and training camp standout, Collin Johnson, who was looking like a lock to make this roster, playing very well, and at some point, a lot of fans were hoping that this guy could even get some starting reps because of the way he was playing well, and Kenny Golladay has been struggling so far this year. Well, guess what? We can't get excited about that now because Collin Johnson, unfortunately, got injured during the latter part of practice today, had to be carted off, and it was later diagnosed he had torn his Achilles tendon and will be out for the season. So once again, the New York Giants suffer another injury to that wide receiver core, and one of the standouts and potential guys that maybe could have shown us something and was working his ass off this offseason won't be able to play because of the friggin' injury bug that hits this team almost every single year. And I apologize if I'm like a little bit getting upset about this, because I'm sick and tired of this, as well as New York Giant fans, of every single friggin' year these injuries keep piling up for this team, especially guys that continue to start showing out and put in the work, that are battling it out to make a roster spot. This is the third guy so far on the New York Giants, after Andre Miller and Darian Beavers, that were making good solid impressions on this team before unfortunately they had to get hurt, and now they're out for the season. It's a damn shame to see this. I feel horrible for Collin Johnson. I hope he gets healed up very soon, and I'm just sick and tired of the injuries. But it doesn't stop there. Alex Bachman, the reserve wide receiver who had 11 catches and 122 yards and 2 touchdowns just a couple of days ago at preseason, the preseason second game against the Cincinnati Bengals, he went down with injury today, and he was grabbing at his heel. We don't have complete injury diagnosis with him, but when you hear about a player grabbing the back of his foot, you automatically think Achilles with him. So we have to hope that he's not going to be out with an Achilles injury, as he was also battling for a roster spot. So that wide receiver core continues to get hit. And even worse, Kadarius Toney right now looks like he's running at about 50% or maybe even less at practice. He's clearly hampered right now by a hamstring injury, and he does not look like he's anywhere close to being ready for the season. You have to wonder, if this guy is clearly not healthy, why is he out there practicing and potentially making that hamstring injury worse? I know you want to try to get him out there, get him as many reps as possible, try not to miss any time, but if he's got a hamstring injury, and as everybody knows in football, when you have a hamstring injury, those injuries tend to linger the most. They are usually one of the hardest injuries to overcome, and if you got a bad hamstring injury, especially for a guy that relies on his cuts, on his speed, on his ability to juke, you want to be careful with that type of injury. So if Toney is right now ailing because of that, shut him down, dial back some of his reps, get him healthy before you potentially put him out there and he gets hurt worse and we lose him for longer than we should. That's the bad right now. The Giants wide receiver core continues to be just an issue with injuries. And there's reports going out today that the New York Giants look to be shopping Darius Slayton for a 5th round pick. Well, you know what? And I'm going to credit my guy, NYG22, because he keeps been spitting out the facts about this the entire time, about the fact that the Giants right now cannot trade Darius Slayton because of the fact that the guys in front of them are so unreliable due to injury. Like I said, we just got Sterling Shepard back, but we all know, as much as we all love him, he can't stay healthy. Kenny Golladay has been pretty much invisible now, and with Collin Johnson now out for the year, Kenny Golladay has to step up and be that number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. Toney has to get healthy, and he has to go out there and be able to perform as our wide receiver 1 or 2. And we have to see Wan'Dale Robinson, how he's going to be able to perform as well. But the wide receiver core continues to be just a banged-up mess right now with this team. And we have to hope that the Giants scale back in terms of trading a guy like Darius Slayton. Now I want to talk about some news, couple of news that the New York Giants have been doing. Today the New York Giants worked out tight end Tanner Hudson, who last played with the Washington Redskins last year. He's a tight end that's been playing in a few years in the league, and he would provide depth to this roster right now if, in fact, the New York Giants end up signing him after his workout this morning. And we all know the tight end position, other than maybe the depth in the secondary in general, especially the cornerbacks, the tight end position is the biggest question mark on this team right now, because Ricky Seals-Jones and Andre Miller were just placed on the injured list. Their seasons are done. And, of course, Jordan Akins has pretty much done nothing right now in training camp. Austin Allen right now looks like a guy that is pretty much should be practice squad bound because he doesn't look like he's ready to be a contributor right now on the main roster. And Daniel Bellinger, he was off to a hot start at the beginning of training camp. His blocking has been solid, but he's tailed off recently in terms of his development. So maybe it's best to give him some dialed back options and try to get a veteran in there who could take up some of the reps and help the young rookie, the 4th round rookie from San Diego State, develop a little bit. So that's just one of the news. And today the New York Giants brought in 2nd-year player out of Tennessee Martin, Jaylon Moore, who right now looks more to be a camp body, if anything. The 5'11", 190-pound wide receiver pretty much has played 2 years in the league, but was really on the Baltimore Ravens practice squad last year, got a couple of call-ups and was in some of the games, but he was really mainly a special teams player. Doesn't have any catches, doesn't have any targets thrown his way. Pretty much just a guy that might be just a camp body because of the amount of injuries the New York Giants are dealing with at the wide receiver position. So Jaylon Moore, maybe he has the opportunity in the rest of training camp, even though we're running out of time, as well as this last preseason game, because he's probably going to have to play to see what type of impression he can bring in the short amount of time. But I really think that Jaylon Moore was just brought in here as a camp body because the amount of injuries and uncertainty we have in terms of the depth of this wide receiver core, because of the injuries to Collin Johnson and Alex Bachman, the uncertainty we have with Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, and Kadarius Toney, and because of Wan'Dale Robinson being a rookie and maybe us trying to put too much on his table right now to begin the season. So you can understand how frustrated I am and other Giants fans are right now about this injury situation, as the New York Giants continue to be hindered and hurt by the injury bug with this team going forward. So prayers up to Collin Johnson. Hopefully you have a speedy recovery this offseason. You can get back in 2023. Maybe the Giants give you another opportunity next year, sign you back up, see how you look in your rehab, and maybe you could be a guy that could compete for a roster spot in 2023. Hopefully Alex Bachman injuries is not too serious, but this is just a very tough thing to deal with as a New York Giants fan. After we were just excited to see some of our guys come back, including Sterling Shepard, and now we get the news about a couple of other wide receivers that go down, and also one of our starters that does not look right in practice and looks to be completely hindered right now due to a hamstring injury. So we'll have to see what happens going forward. But that's just my injury news and updates that I want to give everybody right now. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. Subscribe if you haven't already to NYG Jeffy T 3285 for more breaking news updates and chatter surrounding the New York Football Giants, New York Mets. I'm sorry, I'm just pissed off right now. Brooklyn Nets, WWE Wrestling, as well as food for thought. Turn on the bell for notifications on the next video or short that's going to drop surrounding the New York Football Giants. And leave a comment below on how you feel about the latest injury news surrounding Collin Johnson, Kadarius Toney, Alex Bachman, and some of the rest of the guys that are either coming back from injury or have gone down in practice recently due to injury. So I thank you very much. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Hump Day Wednesday. Take it easy and let's go football, New York Football Giants. Together Blue, everyone.